Well, you're absolutely right. And one of the things that is deeply worrying and concerning is still the high level of deaths. And as you've reported and recorded, and as we know, every single death is the loss of a loved one and will cause grief and heartache for families across the country. And it's precisely for that reason that we don't want to lift restrictions before we can be confident that we're in a position where it's safe to do so. Now, the evidence suggests that the rate of infection and the death rate is flattening, but we're not absolutely certain that we are yet on a downward trajectory, and we want to be heading towards that downward trajectory to be confident about all the steps that we might. Well, the Prime Minister's recovering well. He's in cheerful spirits, and he had the opportunity to talk to Dominic Raab, his deputy, the First Secretary of State, on Friday, and the Prime Minister's instructions to the rest of us in government were communicated by the First Secretary of State when we had a conference call yesterday morning. So it's good that the Prime Minister is recovering. He's following, of course, the advice of his doctors in order to make sure that he rests, recovers fully, but he's absolutely on top of things, and it's I think the wish of all of us that the Prime Minister is restored to full health as quickly as possible.
Now, I'm keen to move.
Yes, it's the first priority of government and of my colleague Matt Hancock and I to ensure that we protect those on the front line who are doing so much to keep the rest of us safe. It is the case that there's a consignment of personal protection equipment that's arriving from Turkey, which contains tens of thousands of gowns. It's also the case that we have a deal with China in order to bring in due course some 25 million gowns over to the United Kingdom in order to make sure that people are kept safe. Gowns are the area at the moment where there is the greatest need, but we also need to make sure that people have the appropriate face masks, which allow them to operate in these clinical settings, and also that people have the visors and the gloves and the other protective equipment that they need. And today, Lord Dayton, who was responsible for the organisational success of the Olympics in 2012, has agreed to lead the task force, which is making sure that we have all the personal protective equipment that people need in the National Health Service, in care settings, and also more broadly in the public. Well, we want to make sure that every test that people are capable of taking is being taken. But you are right to draw attention to the fact that we have the capacity to provide tests to people, but not all of those tests have been taken up. And that's why the Health Secretary has ensured that test capacity is now being extended beyond frontline NHS and social care workers to others in the public sector and other key workers as well, because we want to make sure that having generated this additional capacity, and I must thank those who've been involved in Public Health England, the NHS and others in the amazing efforts that they've made in order to increase this number, we must make sure, of course, that the additional test capacity is used in the most efficient way possible.
We will make America great again.